hopefully that's like, hopefully that's audible. Let me know if my levels are bad. And let me know if the music is too loud or so quiet that it's inaudible. I really can't tell. And we got the dropped frames, as usual. Anyways, whoop. Gotta click all my things. Gotta click all my things. So, welcome to the Plain Jane Game Dev stream, the show where we code a game in a new programming language and talk about stuff. Last time, the stream was like a wicked mess. We had low bitrate issues, and I had a bunch of unexpected compiler bugs because I was really stupid and like worked on the compiler all weekend, and then came to stream and had created a bunch of new problems for myself. So naturally, I've probably done the same thing today, but that's okay. Let's see. Last time we did we did some miscellaneous things. It was Monday. Yeah, we dropped 60% of our frames, and we had bugs, and we messed around and talked about some stuff and did some player physics changes. So here's the state of the game. It is somewhat different than last time I was on stream, in that there is a texture loaded, which is just like an SDL texture, no big whoop. But so I've done some work on the game off stream, but I've tried to keep most of the interesting stuff for stream. So what have we done? So we've got textures, and years ago I had written like a C library to load a sprite files, and the sprite format has changed somewhat, but it's still pretty straightforward. So we now have a Jane library for loading sprite files. So I can show you the draw frame. So in the draw frame, here's our crappy white rectangle player code from before. And then here we have some hard-coded sprite rectangles, and those are actually the sprites that you see on top of the player rectangle are these ones that are just animated with code from scratch. That's what I did first. That's actually how all the animation currently works in WYSIWYG in C. Like all of the animation stuff, like I basically have a bunch of C code that looks a little bit like behavior trees or something, but it's literally just in C code. It's all immediate mode code to decide what frame of what sprite to show. And the animation in WYSIWYG is pretty good. It handles every edge case perfectly, but then the player character has like hundreds of lines of animation logic where it's like kind of hairy. So in this game, I wanted to just have, I didn't pull up a sprite. I always freaking forget something. I swear. So in this game, I decided I did not want to deal with that or subject you guys to that. So in this game, we have a sprite library, and we can load a sprite files, and man, fitting this on screen is going to be tough. I'll put it over here, maybe. Whoosh. Okay. So we just have like a work in progress character I sketched the other morning over coffee. She has 3 frames of animation right now. Nothing crazy. And there's a bunch of reference layers I've turned off from when the document was larger. There's like over here off screen, there's other platformer characters. and those layers I could really delete at this point. But so we've got a head and a body layer and a tail layer for now. But so we have like a couple animations, and then we've loaded those in the game. So the character on the left is being driven with a sprite, and so that is down here. So there's like a lot of boilerplate that we still have to do that I'm gonna clean up maybe on stream. So we're getting the offset to put the origin of the character at her feet in the center. And then actually, are we? No, there just is a line there. I was trying to see if we were padding the sprite by mistake. And then I've just offset it to be away from the player character. So like if I just delete that -64, and now you can see they overlap, right? But off to the side. And then there's just like a helper function to draw it from a sprite file. And I'll go ahead and briefly show what I've done there off stream. So for textures, so something that I like to do, and this is not universally a good idea, but something that I like to do is I really like to have just like compile time lists of resources. Like back in the day, if you ever used Flash Builder or something, you could just like, you could even embed assets in your project like in the code file. You could say I want this sprite sheet, just build it in, and then you'd always have it there to refer to. We're not doing that here yet because this is a debug build and I want to be able to reload stuff off disk, right? Why is my frame rate tanked? That's not normal. Maybe because of all the stuff going on. I don't know. There's a bug with my live coding setup right now where sometimes after a certain number of reloads it gets really sluggish, and I'm not sure if that's like looking up the functions across a bunch of DLLs is just gonna take forever, but we haven't even reloaded that many times since I started the stream, so it shouldn't be that serious. But anyway, many bugs to solve. But so something I tend to like to do is to just at compile time I have like a manifest of all the assets in the project. So in C I do that with these ugly X macros usually, so that I can like generate an enum where and the reason is so that every sound, every texture, every map file, whatever it is, can have some identifier in an enum somewhere, and then I can do sanity checks with the C compiler where you're never referring to a texture that you haven't declared to be in the project and things like this. And it also means that like build scripts can like go look at the X macro if you want and do something with the files, whatever. But so we're doing a little teeny weeny bit of compile time stuff. This is where all of the textures for the game will be entered basically. I just make one of these for any new texture. I give it a unique identifier and then the path. And then that becomes an enum called texture ID. And then we have just like a bank of loaded textures where we store a handle, an STL texture handle for each one. And then we store the file modification time so that we can reload it. So the girly on the right is using an STL texture. If I come over here and if I go open the image, and if I go and just like change it, you can see it updates because I'm checking that file modified time and reloading the file and replacing the file in the engine, right? And this is like a pretty basic thing to be able to do, but in some environments you can't do that and it's frustrating. But so the same applies over here. So if I come over here in the sprite file and I go to a layer that's not locked, and well, you can see that we also update in that case. The difference is this one is being loaded from a PNG, just a plain old PNG exported from a sprite, but you have to like go and do the export, and then if you want the animation tags that you made, you have to like export a JSON, and then in your game you have to import the JSON and all this crud. So it is a little bit easier if you can just load the sprite file directly. It has trade-offs, right? If you're loading the sprite file directly, then you have to go composite all of the layers yourself if you want to do that, and like, you know, build your own sprite sheet internally. But that's really not that much. I don't know. It's a similar amount of effort to loading the JSON, depending on the language you're using, let's say. In Jane, it's a similar amount of effort to loading the JSON because this isn't JavaScript, but so we just load the sprite file too, and that's what we'll be using probably for most characters in the game, is just loaded a sprite file. And like just having this is a huge help, especially, you know, on a machine with fast storage. Like currently I'm checking the modified time every frame, right? When there's a bunch more assets, I probably won't be checking it every frame. I'll probably check it, you know, once every couple seconds or something, or when you hit a certain key or something like that. But currently it gets checked every frame. So this sprites works exactly the same as the textures. We just have a list, and this will just be a manifest of every sprite file in the game. And then we just like do some, basically I wanted to do the crap I do with the C preprocessor, but in a nicer, more type safe way. Every day I'm tempted to put text replacement macros in the language because they let you do so much, but it's kind of a cheat and a hack and creates problems for you later. So I've resisted doing it so far. We might do it eventually, but we'll see. But just so we load some sprite files, and this is all like, I'm really lazy, so this is all arena backed, and currently every sprite file in the game is loaded into one 8 megabyte arena. And so if one of these files, there's currently only one file, but whenever one sprite file changes, we actually throw out all of them and reload them all in a fresh arena. Later we'll probably not do that, but for now it's fine. And the frame rate is tanked again. I don't think I even changed any code that time. Something is amiss. But anyway, so we have a bunch of stuff to do on character animation, and this is all kind of a mess. We also, you might notice if I'm walking to the right, let me restart this, geez. How's everybody doing? I forgot to do all the normal start of stream stuff. You might notice if I'm walking to the right and then I walk to the left, the walking to the left is slower, and that's because I'm rounding the velocity wrong and the player coordinates. So, whoops. Which is, and I thought my rounding was correct for, so if the number's negative, it should round down, but I don't know if I actually did that. Hello. So we've got several things to fix. So there's the rounding thing on the motion. We've also got, currently the way that like the jump height is controlled is a little bit janky, and then other than that stuff, I just wanted to work on some character animation things. Hey, what's up? Thanks for coming to the stream. Alright, let's see. We could go look. I need to call this update or something because process frame is just, I keep forgetting what it's called and having to remember. Oh, my bit rate again. 20% dropped frames. I should run an Ethernet cable in here. That's probably part of the problem. I just don't want to. Something else is I started on an ND system, but I didn't actually finish integrating it yet. I should really get around to doing that. Let's see. This is something I was thinking about doing, which is the way the jump height currently works is we add extra velocity based on how long you've been jumping, and if the button is still held down, we add extra velocity. Another way to do it, though, would be to just say, yes, that is correct, Sebastian, if I'm saying that correctly. Yeah, it is my attempt at a programming language. We will see how long it takes me to give up. And then I'll be on here like, hey guys, I'm back on NIM 1.6, what's up? I decided to make a C preprocessor step instead, or whatever it is. It is a very silly project, I will say. And I don't know if it's going to work out for me long term or not, but we'll see. What is happening to my frame rate? It's just like deteriorating. That is new. I'm not sure what the deal would be though. And I don't have a profiler in here yet, so. Well, anyway, so let's set about. So as you can see, everything is a hack with this animation right now. I want to do this and try it out real quick, and then after that, we'll do something else. I want to try this out and see how it goes. Is it in controller or motion? That's the real question. Let's see. Da-da, da-da, da-da. I need to actually put markers here. Steering. Okay. And then what do we got here? What is this guy? Holding jump. This is where we want to edit something. Yeah, the language itself, it's trying to be quite C-like, but then I've shoehorned in things from other languages that I like or prefer, so it's kind of weird. Some of the syntax might be confusing and is subject to change later. But let's see. So if there's an active jump, and if jump is down, so let's see, if jump's not down, then we say the button was released for the jump that we were doing. Otherwise, if the jump is still being held, then we see how long ago we jumped, and then we give extra acceleration. We could do something simpler. So over here, the idea is just you check if you're on the way up and if the button's down, and if it is, you cut gravity by some amount. And the reason that's different is I think that gives you bouncing on enemies and stuff, and like holding the A button to go higher from the bounce. I think it gives you that kind of for free, which is maybe interesting. This also applies no matter whether we're going up or down. So like even if you bonk your head on the ceiling, this still applies. And the way it kind of, the values that we currently have for it kind of mean that in practice, if you hold the button down, you get this like pretty lengthy pause at the top of your jump arc. Like you come to a complete stop for a little bit, which is maybe good, maybe bad. We don't know until there's more platforming to do, right? But I don't know, it could be interesting. But you can clear a lot of stuff right now. We let you jump very, very high. But let's see. Okay, so what if we ignored this timer, and instead of that, we said, if we did this deal instead. So if we said, if, let's see, my autocomplete is wrecked. So we do this, and alright, well we're already checking that up there, so if jump is not released and the y velocity is less than 0, we can't modify gravity here, so we need to put this somewhere else. We need to put it in the gravity part, but so we'll just do the same thing but with that rule being different. How much is that? 8. Okay, well I don't know how that'll shake out in practice, but now if we jump, okay, yeah, we get a much slower pause, like a much shorter pause at the top, seemingly. And that's because it only applies on the upswing of the jump. Because like before we were doing it on a timer, and it was a fairly short timer. It was this config extra jump duration, whatever. It was 3/4 of a second. But what that meant is if you bonked your head before this, you would still be giving yourself extra y velocity by holding the button. This feels a little bit snappier to me already, just because it only applies if you're moving up. It already feels a little bit more like, I don't know, Mario-y or something. Before you could kind of hold the button here and you get this little like hover jump thing going on, which like you could build a fun game around that, right? But I don't know, I kind of like the... Other thing is, you can jump wicked high in this, and we let you jump wicked high. Probably too high. That feels a bit excessive. And man, the performance is going crazy. Like something is degrading it quickly. I don't know what that is. That is new. Okay, I already like this better, so we're gonna keep that. We're gonna ditch this whole thing. We might still want the jump timer ultimately, but I don't know how much. So let's see. So if we're walking, we can jump like, what is that, 5 tiles? And then if we're running, we can just clear like an absurd number of tiles. It's like just it's totally at a standstill. We get like 4.5 more or less, and then if we're just like walking, we can do whoop a little over 5. That's not terrible. Maybe that's fine. This character is kind of drawn like she would be a lot larger than a Mario, but then in practice like the tiles are quite large anyway. But I almost like, I don't know, in my brain I'm almost imagining this like Wario Land type, like make this character like significantly larger and then have like another small character that's more like Mario physics, but I don't know. We'll have to see. Also zoom the camera in some, I don't know, because you want people to have room to platform too. What is going on with that frame rate? That is making me cranky. Is it doing the reset? Hold on. If I just leave it sitting here for a while, is it gonna mess up, or will it mess up if I do a few resets? Am I leaking something somewhere? Okay, it does not appear to be the resets that are the problem. We seem to be totally fine on that. Well, anyway, so we tried this out, and we don't have an enemy to bounce on to check that part, but we'll check that later. That feels pretty nice. And we'll go over to our devlog and write that down. Changed hold a jump behavior. Sure. bunch of crap that isn't relevant right now. Okay. So I was messing a little bit with animation, like I said. I did not finish anything to do with it. There's a lot of boilerplate in here. That's true. I could do it in Activity Monitor. I don't know how helpful it will be. Like there is some dwarf, so I might get something, but it has already degraded some. So let's have a look in Activity Monitor. Blech. Let's see. Real memory size 82 megs. Da 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 da. Sample, please. Oh my lord. Quit getting in my capture. You know, that worked out better than I thought it would. I hadn't, like, I have profiled other people's games written in arbitrary engines with Activity Monitor. I didn't even think about doing it with my freaking game. Very smart. I don't have to put any effort in. I can just have this. Okay. And the FPS is even lower while we've been talking about it. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it is. Okay, so in the like live coding host, it is good in a pinch. That is true. I was who was it I was talking to? I was talking to somebody about is the game engine Solaris? I don't remember. It's like a Zelda-like engine with Lua, and they were having some performance thing, and I just profiled it with Activity Monitor because I didn't have any instrumentation to use otherwise, and it was pretty effective, and that was cool. It's definitely good in a pinch, though. Okay, so a fair bit of the time. Okay, that's a surprising number. Really, I need to have two symbols, not two symbols, I need to have two profiles, two samples to compare. So I'm going to call this, actually it's even worse now, I'll take a new one. Refresh please. We're down to 12 FPS. What in the heck? That is insane. It is the live host seemingly, taking up a fair bit of the time. I'm gonna save this. Wumbo World, mysterious live code sluggishness. And I'll have a look at that later. That is new behavior as well, which is annoying because it once again means having a stream where I have to constantly refresh and like restart the game when the whole point is to leave the game running. Do. What's weird though is it seems to happen after a while even if I'm not loading new dilibs. It just like comes up on its own. And I'm like, is there a leak? Are we adding something to a list over and over that we shouldn't be? I don't know. Very weird. We're also taking a lot more CPU time than we normally would for this game, which is a bad sign. The frame rate is just slowly deteriorating. That is spooky. That is really spooky. Anyway, we can keep streaming and see how far we get. weird. Yeah, it does start up pretty fast, and like, you know, luckily there's not a whole lot going on yet, so it's not like, oh man, oh, the level takes time to load and we gotta get back to where we were, or like, you know, there's nothing like that yet. So alright, so we need to make the sprite animator match up with the crappy thing we're doing with just a texture, and then past that we need to go and make some animation frames, and these are like super sketchy, like not completed at all, but we need to go in and like do the actual floating head. We need to go in and do just some more like temp frames for other animations, so like ducking and sliding and all those things. We should probably honestly have her keep doing the jog animation like when she's coming to a halt, unless you're like pressing the opposite direction, and then we should do like the skid or something, right? But anywho, I think this is like a first draft hair. Yeah, we don't need that, and I don't think we need any of the rest of this stuff either, actually. Well, that didn't work. Okay. Old references and stuff. So here's idle, and then here's jogging. We'll do the flip because we don't currently do the flip, so we'll do the flip on that. Do I have that? I don't think I have that built in. Oh, that's annoying. My plan was to do these like 3 days a week, and I've quickly learned that I was not prepared to do these 3 days a week. And this is my second one this week, and I'm still not prepared because it's been a crazy week. But alright, so this is some boilerplate right now because we have to look up the sprite entry and see if it's actually valid before we go play the tag. So we'd want to make this a little bit nicer. So we'll want to do something like, and what did I even call A's sprite? That's what I called it. Okay. And so we'd have like, alright, thanks. Have a good one, Sebastian. Thanks for dropping by. Appreciate it. So say A sprite, we'll just call it sprite play tag or something like this, or let's just call it sprite play because we're going to use this all over the place. And it'll take our runtime struct, and then it'll take a sprite, which is going to be one of these, and then it'll take a string, I suppose. So we'll have tag, oh my goodness, and that'll be a string. And so then it's gonna do one of these deals. And so instead of, oh my word, so what we'll do is instead of getting that, we'll actually go on the sprite and get the correct one. And so then if that is valid, we will play or continue the tag that we got. And that should be all we need. And so we can take this, and for now I'm just gonna dump this in I'm just gonna dump this in our util for now. Actually no, we need to put that in. We can't do that. We can't do that. We'll put it in. We'll put it here, put it down here, since it is for this type from this file. Oh, but we can't do that because of the runtime. Ay, ay, ay. We're gonna do this. We're gonna put it down here. Okay. Good enough. And then we'll come here, and each of these will become one line where I will say the runtime, and then we'll say runtime game player sprite jog. And that should be all we need to do there for that. Idle. Okay. Our frame rate is terrible, but it does appear to still work correctly. Okay. Great. So let's see. How do we want to actually fix this up? We did this. We did this. Yeah, this is all me thinking to myself, not really relevant. So we need to track the state that we're in. And we need to track like sort of recent actions that the player has taken. So let's see. We'll have player X try move X, and that'll be like for the, nah, how should we store that actually? That could be in the frame context, whether the player tried to move in a given direction this frame. Also, we could just store like, you know, player facing left, something like that, because we can only face two directions in this game, and then we'll have other stuff like being able to look up, but you'll still be facing left or right. So we'll just wing this in there, and now struct change needs a restart. We don't actually migrate like the layout of memory with the live coding, so we just have to restart anytime we change the shape of some struct that we're passing around. So we'll wing this in here, and then we'll go to our player controller, and what we'll do is, let's see. So let's see what we'll do. So we'll say if player input X is less than 0, then we'll say, not what I wanted. We'll set facing left to true, and then if player input X is greater than 0, we'll set it to false, and those are the only times that will set it. So like if you get bumped by something that sends you flying in a direction, it won't cause you to turn that direction. So, my mouse is lagging out. What is going on? Every time I stream, I swear. It's haunted. The bytes are haunted. Ouch. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but my knuckles just popped so loud, you have no idea. And the bitrate. Okay, so I don't think that I can actually flip the sprite with the current draw that I have, which is not fabulous. Let's see, we can take a scale. But we don't take an X scale or a Y scale. That's not fantastic. Ay. Okay, well, we need to revise this crap. Which is a bummer. So we could add flipping to that. Do I want to bother on stream? Man, I'm not good at this. I think with practice I'll get better at it, but there's a lot going on lately. Alright, so we've got the beginning for this. Let's go ahead to do add flipping to draw playback for this and other side-scrolling games. Let's see. And then, let's see. We could add some new animation frames. Why not? So, you can't look up and run in Mario World, can you? You have to like stop moving to look up, I think. I don't remember. Anyways, so we're gonna make a new one of these things, and we're gonna make a new tag that's called like look up. And we're gonna come in here and try, we're gonna try and probably fail to make like a nice looking up. Can I have onion skin? Oh, it's in a different tag, so you can't show me? Are you kidding me? It's still not showing up. What? A sprite? Come on, man. We'll add a new frame. Will it work if we add a new frame? Then it'll work. Okay, great. Fabulous. Okay. So let's try to have like a, I don't know, maybe, so like her eye would be up a little bit higher, and then it would be like this, right, or something. I don't know. Ooh. And we don't have a preview. And then we'd have like, I don't know. This is rough. And that looks like crap. And then maybe like you want to like angle her snoot up more, right? This is all placeholder, it doesn't count. Okay, you know what? We're gonna raw sprite this and see how far we get, and then like fix it up. Let's say hypothetically that we just oh my god. Oh, come on, you. Okay. Yeah, sure. Great. Gosh golly gee. And so then we'll just like fix up the hair a little bit, you know, and then we'll come in and like fix up the neckline a little bit, and it'll be fine. I feel like I should give her like a choker or something. I don't know. Why is my eraser massive? What layer is that? Okay. Okay, so we don't need that there. And we don't especially need that there. I don't know, I can't even see what I'm doing anymore. I'm just gonna maybe... Okay, sure. Let's pretend that that's okay. So that'll be looking up for now. That totally sucks, but we're gonna go ahead and save. And then what we shall do is we'll come over here to the game, and let's see, we'll say if is looking up, I keep seeing movement on my like laptop screen in my peripheral vision, and then it's nothing. And we'll say if is looking up. I'm gonna try to only call things in like one place, but that's gonna be tough. I mean, we could just have this here. I don't know. We need to have like a, we don't have go to. Dun dun dun. We could have something like this, or we just have some static strings, and then we would do like this, right? And so then here what we do is we'd say anim equals jog. And then here we'd say anim equals. Well, we don't need to say that because we already said it. Okay. Excuse me. So let's see. So if we're looking up, then we'll say anim is look up. Amazing. Oh wow, we can look up. Feast your, oh my god, it doesn't work. Feast your eyes, we can look up. And we are a slideshow again. But yeah, we can totally look up when we're on the ground. Looks like she's smacking her mouth more than anything. Her eye like doesn't even move. That's such crap. Oh my goodness. Ugh. That is rough. Okay, what if we just like nope. What if we just what if you just like nope. Maximum hack hours over here. What about that? Okay, that's marginally better. When we're doing actual art, this is gonna come in mega handy. But for now, we're busy phoning it in and doing a bad job. Sounds better? That's a little better. So we'll fix up the outlines there. That was a little better. Okay. Good enough for government work. Okay. So looking up, we have a version of that working. And then we'll need, let's see, so we've got like a jog, and then we could do one that's like, we need to do something for ducking, because right now it's just like the same thing. And it's really unclear what's happening. So let's see. So let me copy this frame. And we'll drag it out here, and we'll make a new tag, and we'll call this like duck. And then we're gonna make a new tab, a new frame, I should say. And then we're just gonna delete like, okay, let's leave the tail. Is this the tail? That's the tail. Tail, body, head. We're going to delete the body and head. And we're gonna take the tail and move it. What I'll probably do ultimately is like take the tail and make it its own sprite sheet separate from this and just attach it to the player character. But for now, it is a whole sprite by itself. So we're gonna take the tail and put it down here maybe. And then we're gonna come and like draw it's like in Mario World, the squat is really cute because Mario like gets under his hat, right? We could maybe try to do something like that, but she's not wearing a hat currently. We could have something like she shapeshifts. I don't know. There will be outfits where she wears a hat. Doug Dimmadome. We're not doing that. How do we want to do that? For now, let's do something really silly. So let's see, that's about our size that we have to work with. So we could have like a we could have like silly little arms coming up like this, and then like like that, and then have like this is so stupid, and then have like you know how cat legs kind of like splay out, you know what I'm talking about? and then they're like, this is so stupid. Yeah, that's terrible. No, okay. We got like, there's the little foot, right? And then like, there's the little foot, and then this is like one arm, and then there'd be like a little hair, or like we should have like big ol' eyes, like we should have like eyes looking upward or something. Just an absolute creature. This is really, really silly. And there'll be another hand over here, then like, ooh. And then like, she's a bit chesty, and then there's like another little attempt at a leg over here. See, the cool part about something being a placeholder is it can be as goofy as you want, and nobody can argue with you about it. Fabulous. This sucks. This is pure cancer. Okay. Here's our hero. Our super cool hero who doesn't afraid of anything. Nope. And then we need to have some hair, right? Sure. We could have the snoot, like kind of a snoot. I don't know. That is horrific. I hate that so much. It's perfect. And then what we'll do is so let's see. Ducking supersedes all this stuff. So if we're ducking, because it's kind of like Mario World rules where you can duck and then kind of like jump around, but you can't actually walk on the ground when you're ducking. You can only slide. Same sort of deal. That is awful. We have to restart because the frame rate deteriorated again. Alright. So we can look up and we can that is so stupid. Great. That's great. We'll fix it later. Alright, so there's a bit of animation, and then in here we would have like a to do running at full speed. And we also have to do skidding to a stop. Turn. Okay, let's see. So we have a crappy ducking animation. What else? Let's see. That's something else. We don't have any jump frames yet. We could do some placeholder jump frames, which that one will work in a pinch. Oh, it just like destroyed the tag when I did that. Weird. And so we'll call this jump, and we might do a little here. We'll go into proper homage here. We'll go and put like a little fist up there, if I can manage not to screw it up horribly. I'm going to sneeze. Where is my mute button? Oh god. Phew. Alright, doing any pixel art on stream is like terrifying because I normally just like meticulously take forever to do anything. And this is just like an exercise in humiliation a little bit. Okay. Yeah, that looks awful. Let's just get rid of that real quick. So we'll call this jump, and then we'll, although we could do, you know, we could like put her back foot out behind her more or something in the actual jump frame. We do something like that, you know. We got like a something more like that. Nah, I mean, I don't know. This is gonna require so much like effort later to clean up. Yeah, forget it. We'll leave the old foot. I'm too nervous to art on stream right now. So we'll have this, and then maybe we should try to put like a little bit of an arm. I don't know. Erg. Just like the tiniest hint of an arm. It's supposed to be sketchy. I shouldn't be so self-conscious about it. But boy, am I self-conscious. Alright. So there's our totally, how would it even look? It'd be like, so like the thumb would be up here, and then like the, something like that, I guess, right? Have something like this going on. And then there'd be more like palm in there. That's way too big though compared to our other hand. I'm not a professional artist. I am a professional doofus. That's still terrible. Okay, we'll mess with that later. But for now, this is totally our jump frame. And for now, we're just gonna like duplicate that. Nope. And we'll call this fall, and then we're gonna change. Oh shoot. Fall with 2 L's might be good. And then over here, we will, let's see. So if we're not ducking, if not is on ground, else. And then superseding all this later would be like, oh, if you died, right? Or something like that. So if we're not on the ground, if we're going up, then we'll do the jump animation. And if we're not going up, we'll do the fall animation. And now we get, again, a slideshow, but it does work. We get a rudimentary jump animation. Whoop. Another thing that we need to do is change the frame rate of the jog animation the way we're doing on the right. We need to do that for the sprite version as well. We currently don't have like a time scale that we can manipulate on that. We should maybe add that. That's something we could add pretty trivially. Is if we go to this, we could add that up here, which really should just have stuff in here, but I don't really want to add things that aren't necessarily part of the sprite like format to that. So we'll have this and we'll call it like time scale. Time scale. We'll do that. Yes, I know we need a restart. Okay. And so now that we have the time scale, we need to apply that. We currently are manually ticking this animator. So let's see. So we'll have elapsed, or we'll call it milliseconds. It's going to be 1/60. Don't we have like a fixed DT or something? Am I crazy? Just to be like... Am I nuts? Don't we have... I guess we don't. Fixed DT, yeah, we've got one. That's what I thought. Fixed DT times, and that would be... time scale. Something like that. And then this needs to be casted down. So we do that. And that needs to be times 1000, of course. For milliseconds. Beep, beep, beep. Alright, so now we're going at like a normal rate. Great. And then we need to change that value whenever, based on our run speed. So where do we actually do that up here? Oh, we have like this whole scheme. We have this whole scheme about it. So we'll say if is running, if anim equals jog, then we'll say, let's see, this is like a whole deal. We need linear remap. We haven't written one of those yet, but that's actually what you want here. I'm putting that in my stream notes for next time. Do unlerp and remap. We don't have them yet. Add flipping to the sprite drawing stuff. Okay. So let me comment this out so we'll actually compile. Boop-a-doo-doo. Doo-doo. Alright. Oh, that's weird. What in the heck? Why is it not actually... Oh, because it's 0 by default. Duh. Whoops. We should fix that. Well, let's say that every frame we're going to reset the value for now. That's better. Now we need to speed it up, which we could also do something like, I don't know. call it like time boost or something, and then it'd be like 1 plus whatever amount, if that makes sense. So then 0 is a safe value, basically. That works. Let's do that. So we'll call this like time scale mod, which means how much we're changing the time scale. And so then what we'll do is in process frame, instead of this, it's going to be timescale mod, and it's going to be 1 plus that. That's maybe getting into hairy places because people will do weird stuff. Struct changed. It's the same type, I just changed the name, but of course checksums. It's best that we have it that way. Okay. Alright, so there's this. And then what we'll do is in here we'll say if, because we have it on a smooth gradient for this other one, we could do that, or we could have it just like certain speeds or something. Either way is fine, probably. Hum-ba-dum-ba-dum. This is just kind of like garbage values before, where it didn't really how do we want to do that? Because this is just like bogus values anyway. Let's assign it to a thing and then see how goofy the value is. We're not actually going to assign it yet, we're just going to print it out. And something like that. Okay, and then if we, okay. Okay, so we go up to an 1/8. Well, that's not so bad. We'd probably want it to be larger actually, so we'll take this off. Okay, now we get up to about 1/4 because we're multiplying it by 1/4. Okay. Okay, so now we go all the way up to 1, so it would be a double speed is what that would imply, so we'll try that. And we're at a slideshow, so it does not help, and I can't see. Okay. Okay, that feels pretty reasonable. Like going at a little walkie walk. Oh, we leave it alone, that's a problem. What in the heck? The heck did I do? That was weird. Okay. Normal speed, we go up to double speed, we go back down to normal speed. Okay, that feels pretty reasonable. I do kind of like the at full tilt speed the other one has, so we could even crank that up some, you know? We could even say like, here, we'll move this first of all, put the sign there, and we could do just like a ×2 and see how that feels. That feels duly silly. Maybe that's fine. Then when we jump, we stop running. Then when we land, we start running again. Do 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 do. Run, 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 run. Jump. Jump. Okay, that feels pretty like a thing. And then we can add like animation, of course. So like when we're doing the jumping, we could add another frame, and then on this other frame, we could do something like, you know, we could like slightly move things around. Or like we can, here, we'll do this. We'll do like, do something, and then like, we'd like get like the body maybe, and we could like very slightly, which like this all is gonna have to be cleaned up to death anyway, so we could just like slightly, yeah, it looks like crap. But the cool part is we can just like instantly test the changes in the game, which is nice. Jump. So there's the little tail kind of blowing in the wind. Not so bad. We could also do like a Luigi type thing where like when she goes up, she could be kind of like looking up, and then when she falls, she could be kind of like looking down, or something like that. Oh gosh. That feels like it has a little more personality. And then when she's falling, we could do something where like both feet are kind of coming down to like, and like arms could be going back, or like hair could be flying up, things like this, right? Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. And then like because here's my thinking. My thinking is if we can get the animations to feel nice when they're super scrappy, then later when we polish them, they'll feel even better. And actually, slideshow notwithstanding, I'm going to come in here and change the scale to be larger so we can see a little bit better, because the window is very small. Okay, so we're running along and we jump. Okay. Could be worse. We could like have the hair kind of on the falling. We could have the hair kind of like be more up behind her, you know? So you like have the hair kind of more like, you know what I mean? And we could add another frame where we like draw another frame for the hair. Frame rate is too low there. Actually, I think it's just that I'm not very good at this. practice will make perfect. I think part of the issue there is like she suddenly has much more hair. It's like much longer hair. And like, I don't know. Too much. Feels a little bit more normal-ish. But anyway, I don't know. Just spitballing here. Yeah, sure, it could be worse. And then like maybe you'd want to do something like have like you could either have like this foot come down some and the other foot come up, or you could do something like have both feet like out in front of her, like to land on the ground situation. You could kind of like have both feet in like a silly way, like, hold on. You have both feet coming down like this. It's a very Luigi type deal. Let's see. Oh Lord. Just maybe needs to be like, hold on. Doop doop. Very silly, but it'll do for now. Although if we're gonna do that, I feel like whenever she jumps, like kind of both feet need to be behind her. So like both feet would be kind of like down if we're gonna do that. So like let's see, how do we do that? We'd have like maybe like this or something, like that. Like she was pushing off with both feet. Do 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 do. Maybe have like a knee coming out a little bit. I don't know. This is hard. And then we want to have that for both of these. Feels like it should be. Seems like reloading our stuff is maybe slow, but or eventually slowing things down. But we tried reloading a bunch of stuff before and it was fine, so I don't know. We want to do something like that. Or we'd have like right, we gotta do both frames. Ha 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 ha. That feels a little bit more, I don't know, but then having that one big paw stick out feels a little bit goofy when she's running. Although this frame is not great either. Ay, ay, ay. Lordy, lordy. Let's see. So then there's this frame where we've got the big giant toe beans coming out there. Maybe tone that down a little and maybe it'll feel more like a sane level of that. Maybe. That feels a little bit more consistent at least. That feels a little bit better. Of course, she's not the one with the physics. Ha ha ha. Okay, so with that being the case, let's go ahead and turn off the this goofy thing. And also we need to save that for later. And we'll get rid of this. And alright, well, so now we have our oversized, and she still doesn't have flipping of course, but we have our oversized critter and she can jump around a little bit. And we died. Okay. That duck animation is so bad. I kind of love it though. It's just very, very bad. Okay. Enough goofing around. Can you duck in midair in Mario World? I don't think you. I think you have to like hit the ground and duck, and then like jump. Like you have to be running and then go like wah. Like you have to duck right before you jump or something. I don't actually remember. Whoop. Okay. So we can go ahead and turn the scale down. And then we can see about sorry, I got distracted playing the game. What the heck was the other thing? I already forgot. That's so bad. I forgot the thing. I haven't had much sleep. Let me see. What was the other thing? Oh my goodness. Something else. Oh yeah, I was gonna turn off this freaking logging. That's what it was. Because we don't need it anymore. Maybe that's too fast. Which we could do something where like when you're running super duper fast, you could have like the like Sonic Infinity feet or something, or like whirlwind feet type deal. We could do something like that, or we could do something like do the Mario style thing where like she like put her arms out to the side, something. Performance keeps degrading during live code. Actually, what if we run what if we just run it without the watch mode and we run 2 of these? This one's FPS is a little bit suspiciously low. It's normally 100 VSync should be on. I wonder if it's because I'm streaming. It shouldn't be. Oop. What gives? Looks like this one is even degraded, like the tick speed is low, which is very strange. But like the actual, you can tell that it's overhead because it's like there's the actual number of ticks, the actual number of frames, but then over here, these like shifting numbers, this is like based on how long we actually timed those things taking inside the game. This is what you could hit if it was uncapped, right? And that is suspiciously lower than it should be. I'm not sure why. Do 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 do. Ooh, very hard to play at this frame rate, gotta say. Whoop. Anyways, let's see. We could take. Let's take another sample in activity monitor. The most fun thing to do. The most on-screen thing to do. Ba-da-da. Oh yeah. Okay, well, suspicions confirmed. Literally all of the time is loading addresses. Like 30% of the freaking frame time is loading addresses. That's not good. That's really not good. Yeesh. And a very tiny amount of time is actually going to doing things. Great. Check profiles. Looks like sent in J live pump. Alright. So let's see, this one has degraded a little, but not nearly as much as the live code one. So like there could still be something afoot outside of the live code environment, but it seems like most of our problem is definitely down to live code being sketchy. Which means I've introduced that since the prior stream where it did not occur, but before I was doing a DLL like per module, and that got kind of out of hand quickly because you want to live code lots of modules in a code base. So I did it to be more how my C setups work, where I'll do one DLL for all of the modules that I want to be live coded. So that was a big change to how the live code stuff works internally, and I might have broken something. And let's see, we could turn that white rectangle off. Oop. Yeah, this is running more or less fine. Like it's under a little bit of strain from all the like stream and everything going on, but for the most part, the live code one is just like suffering. Actually, let's take our white rectangle code and we'll make this, we'll put this in the debug drawing. And instead of a white rectangle, we'll make it a green rectangle, and we'll make it an outline instead of a solid one. The heck is it? It's just called, what the heck is it called? I don't remember. Hardy har. That's just called frame. Oh my goodness, I forgot. It's been long enough since the last stream that I forgot. Frame. We should not be doing that. We should be fix me. Check this on the player data or something. And actually, we don't need this because we could just get the... Yeah, we don't need that, actually. And actually, I don't see the rectangle because, yep. Still not, okay. Right. There we go. Alright, so now we've got a little rectangle for our player. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And she will actually be closer to the size of the rectangle. It's just big right now so we can see the sprites better since we were working on those and animations and stuff. That doesn't feel horribly unnatural though, honestly. It would just make the world feel tiny, is the problem. Surprisingly playable despite the chug, but I need to stop being distracted. Alright, so this can go away. This can go away too. And then... let's see. So we could have a system that's like draw the player and it would specifically do this, but we're not going to do that. When we get to having our entity system finished and we move the player over onto the entity system, then she'll just have a sprite and the sprite will just be drawn as in a system that draws all the sprites. Alternatively, we could give her her own system, but it would be needlessly looping through, you know, lots of other entities with sprites and ignoring them to then only draw hers. But if we ended up having some special case stuff just for the player, we could still do that. Saving another profile. Because I have got to fix this chug. It is driving me bonkers. Alright. We might have... hold on. We could have a memory leak, but I don't think we do. 90.3 megabytes. That number does not appear to be moving, and we only just started this thing a little while ago, so... it doesn't appear to be growing or changing at all. Oh wait, that was the old one. Ay. Okay, now let's try it. Huh? Well, we now have less memory than we did before in use, so it's probably not a memory leak. Rats. Okay. 85% CPU is pretty serious. Because normally this game would take like 1% or something, even with the unoptimized code. What the heck? Okay. And it's all once again load address. Crud. So the actual rendering is like 13% of the time, which kind of surprises me because it shouldn't even be that much. It's not doing anything. And it's the debug drawing. Well, I guess it is drawing a lot of rectangles. Not amazing. Percent of parent versus percent of thread. And now the memory usage has dropped down, so for sure not that. Sorry for all the dead air today. This chuggerific chug is very distracting. Alright, so what else did we do? Didn't do this yet. Did this for now. Kind of doing this. We could make specific running sprites where like she was like leaned forward or something, you know? Because these are marked as jogging, right? We could have ones that are specifically running where she goes into like a more serious run. And we could play that one whenever call this one like sprint or something. And then in sprint she would like be leaned forward more or something like this, and like I don't know, it's like she would lean forward maybe a bit more, and then her arm maybe would kind of go back some, right? It'd be kind of like this maybe, something like that. And then like it's like her arm would go back more. She'd still have her like clenched fist probably, and then like should be leaning forward some, but we could kind of, and you could maybe have like her other foot back here a little bit or something. I don't know. And then do we have the like, yeah, we do. We need to change the hair on it. So we could have like her kind of like looking down face, right? No, I hate. Okay, some of the selection behavior in a sprite drives me absolutely insane. Okay, so there we've got her like kind of determined head, and then we'd have like her hair would be coming down kind of like more like blowing in the wind situation. Good enough for now, and then and so then we'd have like another frame, and in this frame we would like and we'd maybe have something like, I don't know. And then what we would do is like, well, didn't mean to do that. is we'd have like one leg way back like this, right? And like, this is so silly, oh my goodness. You could have one leg out like, like one leg kind of out front, and then the other leg would be kind of like back behind like that. Except it would look good and not terrible. I'll have to make a version that looks good. Okay, so like, let's say that there's something vaguely like this, except it looks good, and then like, I don't know, the pants kind of would be like doing this number, right? And then that sucks. Okay, what if we do this? What if we do like, and then on the head layer we'll like get the hair and like manipulate it a little. Whoop. That's awful, but we'll try it. Sure. And then we'll come over here and we'll run our game again. And here we are running and jumping around, and we've got this jog animation, right? And so then we'll change that, change the jog animation. Where if the speed is above a certain level, so if the mod is over like, I don't know, then you sound like that. That looks awful. Let me like get back over here. Okay, well let's say well, do we have like a float sneer or something? I don't know. If mod is greater than, close enough. I think if we could make a version of this that didn't look like crap, it could be good. Okay. So then, okay. Another thing is it takes us not very long to accelerate to full speed, and we'd probably want to fix that up too. And we could maybe do something where like, I don't know, here it could be like, her arm could be like, you know, like her torso would be turned, her shoulder would be here, and her arm would be up like this, right? Like that. Let's try that out for this frame and see how that feels. So we'd have her shoulder like this, and then her arm is like that, and then like let's change the shape a little bit. Something like that, and then something like, hold on. So her arm would be coming like this, and then on this layer, her chest would have turned away from the camera some, right? Well, it's on the other layer now. So like her shoulder would still come down like this. Her shirt would come down, and then we'd like follow. That feels maybe too much. Yeah, it sucks. Now we need to have like an in-between frame, right? Which is going to be hard to pull off. What if we just like, okay, what if, this is a terrible idea. No, it's not good. That's not good at all. Well, really, it's like what you'd need is, you'd have like, I don't know. You know, other than the arm being janky, it actually doesn't feel that horrible like in situ. I think if we had like another frame in there where like, actually, tell you what, here's what we'll do. Ugh. That feels a little better. That could be worse. Let's fix the frame rate, shall we? Yeah, you know, it could be worse. We could add an in-between frame there, but for now I think it's fine. All right. All right. So that's kind of neat. That's functional at least for now. So we did that. We're doing this. We're just not actually doing it correctly. So we could show it with the debug. We could say, let's see, we could say let's do this. So we'll say so there's the X position and there's the Y position. Sorry for the repetitive music, by the way. I just need to make a playlist of like allowable Nintendo music. I just haven't. I was talking to somebody, a musician I really like, to be like, hey, can I use some of your music on stream? But just like, folks are busy and like having time to talk through everything is taking a while. It's promising though, so hopefully at some point I will have not Nintendo music for the stream. But we'll see about that. This will be X, that'll be Y minus, I don't know, forget about it. And minus, like, I don't know, 16 or something. Minus 24, that'll work. And then we need to send the actual string, right? Yes. And then here will be a C, actually it'll be a C string of, I think we're allowed to do this and not get in trouble. And so we'll say if, I don't know if I should put if in here or not, maybe I should store it to a variable first. But we'll say if the player's facing left, then we'll yield left, else we'll yield right. I don't know if that's gonna... It is! Okay, sweet. So now there's a little debug text on our character, as you can see, where it shows what direction she's supposed to be facing. And oh my word, the lag, the sudden lag is so crazy. So bad and crazy. But we're moving to the right, and now we're facing to the left. Right, left, right, left, right. The one case where you don't want to do that is like if you're skidding to a stop. It's like if you're like sprinting and then start to turn the other way. You have this like in between sprite, right? But all right, let's make the run acceleration slower because it feels so fast that we get to full speed. Oh, we never fixed the rounding moving to the left. Oh, but we don't actually get to our max speed going this way. That's a bummer. We do if we jump a lot because the friction differences. I see. Maybe we need to change our friction rules so that they don't apply indiscriminately. What if we compromise with a 15? Then we almost instantly get it still. That's so annoying. We definitely need to get more like thoughtful about this if we want it to feel good. It needs to be about a certain amount of time that you accelerate to get to max speed, because currently we don't really have much direct control over that. It's just really squidgy. Whoops. Oh, that is one other animation that we could go ahead and do. So we did the running animation. We could do the skidding to a stop bit and apply that. After that, we'll probably call it because it's been a couple of hours. Ba-do-do-do-do-do. I need different music on my stream. Alright, so let's say we'll do the jogging sprite, and then so we'll get, this seems like a good basis, so I'm gonna get that one, and then I'm gonna come over here and paste it here and move it over there. And so we'll call this skid. Or well, not skid, because like skidding would to me be like on ice, like you're trying to stop. So we'll call this like turn maybe. Or we want to have this kind of like we want to have the rare front-facing front-facing this girl. Just need to figure out what that would even look like. So I suppose her snoot would something like that, and then big snoot, and then whoop. Okay. And then on the body front, it's like we'd want to have the tail kind of starting to whip behind, maybe. So like, the tail maybe coming back here like this. She's about to turn. And then here, you'd maybe grab like, you'd maybe want to turn like, have her leg maybe a little bit more, whoa, that's not what I wanted. A little bit more like she was on her heel turning there. Put her down on the ground like that. And then you could maybe like have her arm more straightened out or something. But for now this isn't so bad. Well, okay, so that'll be our skid frame for now, and we'll need to put particles on it later, of course. Should we do like that maybe? Maybe we should. We could give her a little eyebrow up here, like in the hair. I don't know if that's really necessary or not. But anyway, so there's our skid animation. And then we need to go plug that in. Da, da, da. So what the skid would be if you are on the ground and you're facing the opposite direction of the direction of movement, right? So let's see. So we're not ducking, and if we're not on the ground, or if we are on the ground rather, then we've already got this, but we got it down there. So what we do is we would say if player input x is less than 0, and this is going to be an or situation, so let's do this, or greater than 0. Okay, and oh, my neck, greater than 0. So if these disagree, then anon equals turn. Okay, so let's, and we're in slideshow land again for whatever mysterious reason. Did you catch it? It'll work better when we can actually I think that'll work better. Once we can actually flip the sprite. Alright. So that's pretty neat. There's the skidding, and we'd want to put like to do turn on dust particles or something like that. Let's see. So let's see. Could do something like bool flip x in here, as long as we're doing this stuff. And then where's our function at? Where's our little helper at? Somewhere else. It's on the runtime, isn't it? Nope, that's a different thing. Okay, well. Right, this whole deal. Abstract that out some. Sprite draw. And then we'll have some other crap in here that we need, because we'll need the x and y, and we'll need a scale x and a scale y, maybe. We could store that on the sprite, honestly. So we'll just have an x and y, and then we'll put unreliable. We will put that on here. Scale x, scale y. We could make it a vec2. I could say vec2 scale if we want to do that. But we could equally just say scale x and scale y. I don't know, those aren't going to be 1 by default. That's a bummer. We'll do those later. Flip x is something we can do. So this will be the sprite ace ID. And then we'll put a fix me on that. and then we'll say, okay, that all stays the same. That all stays the same for now. This part needs to be the X, this part needs to be the Y. Alright. Actually, we'll do it this way. And we will grab these guys and we'll just make a quick variation. I don't want to edit something that's in the standard library. Just offhand, but okay. Right, and then we'll have flip X, flip Y, bool. Actually, yeah, sure. We'll do that. Render texture rotated because that makes sense. We take scale in here, but not, yeah, whatever. So we'll leave the angle 0 for now, and we'll leave this null for now, and then we'll have the flip, which we need to go do. So STL flip, it's just an I32. What is it? I don't remember what it is. What is? It is, yeah, it's an I32. Flip equals 0, and then if flip X, flip or equals horizontal. If flip Y, flip vertical, right? So there's that. And then flipped. Messy, messy, messy. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So there's that. And now, if we go, we can use these instead. And actually, we don't need to do that. We can use that in mirror. Flipped. Sprite flip X. And we'll just, we'll go ahead and add a sprite flip Y. Why not? Why not do that? Fabulous. And then what we can do is we can go on the player controller and set that value. And I think what we're gonna want is to actually flip this frame horizontally. Beep, 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 beep. Anyway, that's really cute. Okay. So then what we'll do is we'll go to the player controller, and where are we storing that? I don't even remember. Facing, aha! Okay. Whoop, whoop. No! You fool! Why is it not working? What did I miss? Oh, because I bet I'm not even calling. Yeah, I'm not. That's why. This is just called sprite draw. I've already forgotten. It sure is. RT, a sprite, and then X and Y. Okay. Okay. And then the X and Y. So we still need to get the X and Y. But we don't need the anchor Y anymore because those are being computed in the doohickey, I believe. And we don't need the camera anymore either. So actually we can just pass this and this, I think. And later we'll do stuff like the sprite will be able to specify its own like anchor point and everything. Oh, right, because that's not good. It's giving me the wrong offset. That's not great. But we are flipping. Why is it like, hold on. Is she not, she's centered, right? Like, geez. She's totally centered. Like, am I stupid? Okay. I need to maybe draw like a rectangle around the sprite. She's totally centered though. Like she's absolutely centered. More or less. What is my grid size? Hold up. Yeah. Yeah, she's centered, see? That wasn't crazy. So what gives? The turn sprite appears to be correct, but then when she actually turns, she's like off over there. Is it because, are we messing with the scale or something? That doesn't make sense either. I don't know. Da-dum, da-dum. My LSP doesn't work. I must have broken it earlier today. That really sucks. Okay, maybe is us messing with the scale a problem? No, it's still off kilter. Wait. Well, no. Or wait, is it because of the anchor point? Oh no. Well, wait, but is it because of the anchor point? Let's find out, shall we? We'll do this. SDL, is it point? Is it a point? F point. Is it like this? I don't even know how it works. I haven't used that API much in forever. Okay, that's apparently not how it works. Well, here's what we can do. We can make a new layer, and we'll grab all the frames, and we'll link them, and then here we'll get a color, and we'll just draw a rectangle, because this will make it easier to wrap your brain around. now we have this rectangle and it's supposed to be linked. Link the cells, please. Guide. What? Excuse me. Oh, it's because when we trim the cells, we're messing something up. Because this fixed it. How annoying is that? Okay. Because when we're flipping it, we're like flipping it with the wrong coordinates. Okay. That's interesting though. But so this just totally fixes our whole deal unintentionally. And whoop. Whoop. That's not so bad. Alright. So, okay, I need to write that down. A sprite, cell trimming, messes up flipping the sprites. We seem to put them at the wrong coordinates. It's fixed if the canvas has a pixel in each corner so that the cell cannot be trimmed. It's a bummer. Alright, but we can go ahead until we get that fixed. We can just do this. So it's a little less distracting. That's just 4 points. And our animations are fixed for the moment. Whoop. Not so bad. And we can go to our debug system and we can turn off the that. We don't super need it anymore. So that's pretty cool. So we've gotten a bunch of like, and like this is not, what's cool about it is that there's really very little complexity so far and setting up the animations. Like this is some code, right? And it's not like a, you know, we weren't able to, like, we didn't define this with like a node graph or something, right? We just laid it out in code, but like look how little code it is, right? Like it's really simple, and like it will be more complicated later when there's other, you know, when there's a lot more animations for doing different things, like, oh, maybe you're carrying something, or maybe you're, you know, whatever it is, but it's really not that bad. Pretty cool. So let's see, what else do we need to do? We did this. We should really fix that velocity rounding bug if we can. That would be good to do. Let's see, so that'll be, is it in controller or is it in motion? I suppose it'll be in motion. So there's our frame velocity. And then this is not the correct rounding. If it's less than 0, else Then we'll do it this way. And how do I want to, whatever. And then we'll do something like that, I think. And then we'll do the same deal for the Y. And this might be a totally erroneous thing to do. We will find out. I'm just trying to brain through it a little bit. Is that right? Compile error. Oh. Still? Nope. Okay. And we've already lost our frame rate. We'll do it again. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. There's our speed. Yep. That feels right. So now we should be able to run just as fast in one direction as we can in the other direction. Nice. Not so bad, huh? So we fixed that. What else? We've done that. We did not do that. We did start thinking about an entity system, but we haven't finished that yet. I could show you guys one cool thing. The last thing... Should the last thing on the stream be showing you a bunch of code? Probably not. We could talk about it next stream. Alright, well, we have been here for 2.5 hours. Today we have added a little animated character to the game, and she has animations for several things that you can do now with some personality. And they're still work in progress, but it feels much more like an actual game now that there are some graphics at all in it. Like having any graphics whatsoever makes it feel a lot more like a real game than it did before. Thanks everybody who stopped by the stream. Pretty chill, low energy one today, but we got some stuff done anyhow. Next stream should be next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll probably be doing some entity system stuff, or maybe we'll get some tile graphics in here. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to think about it. But thanks everybody for hanging out with me. I hope you had fun, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.